Welcome to the Life with Joey Calvo podcast. I am Joey Calvo. I do apologize for the delay. We had a little, we'll call it a technical issue in reference to it. So today we're going to be mind blown by Xavier Roman. And Xavier, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Joey.
You're welcome. And Xavier, explain to the audience. Oh, and also for those before we get even further, for those that are on that will be watching this on PhillyCAM TV later on because this is being recorded. Just if you have post questions, please go to the YouTube channel, which is on the screen, and click on live, and then click on the podcast in question, and then the episode in question, and then the guest will get the question and we'll get the answer to you as soon as possible. But welcome to those viewers that are watching on PhillyCAM TV when this airs, as well as the live stream on YouTube. So, all right. So Xavier, explain to us what you actually what you really do, and then how you got to where you're at.
Okay. What I do is I heal people. Whether we could do it online, which is distance, or in person. How I got there was back when I was 5 years old. I don't know if you've read my bio on my website at XavierRoman.com. You'll see that when I was 5 years old, I had been around by the park area, and across the street, I had seen a mother and a child. They're both crying right in the corner. So the child was hugging the mom, crying right at her waist, and she was crying. And I'm looking across the street, right kitty corner, and I'm like, at 5 years old, I was kind of scared. I didn't know what to think of it, but I was trying to look around to see what they were crying for. But I was kind of scared and worried. But at the same time, I was like, man, I really wish I could help them. I really wish I could help them. And so I was like, man, I wish, there's something I could do. And then I felt this and slightly may have heard, you could help them. And then for some reason, I closed my eyes and I put my head down just like this. Mm-hmm. And I felt this white light come through my body and surround my body. Mm-hmm. And my intention, even though I didn't know what intention was at 5 years old, but mm-hmm. the direction I wanted that light to go in was right towards them. And I stood there for a while and I seen the light go around them, white light. And then after a while, I opened my eyes and I looked at them. And then probably after a couple, 2-3 seconds, they stopped crying. Mm-hmm. Well, I seen the mom. I noticed the mom stopped crying. And then I heard the child stop crying. Mm-hmm. And then the mom was looking around like this. And then the child, he took his arms off the mom and he started looking around as well. Like, it almost looked like he was, they were both saying like, what's going on? Because they stopped abruptly real quick. Mm-hmm. And I just looked at them and then I'm looking around to see if something happened. And then I immediately thought, like, was that me? Like, could that have been me? Like, wow, I think I did that. Mm-hmm. No, and then, it's parts of me is like, no, maybe I didn't. But like, wait a minute, that's what I wanted to do. And then when I opened my eyes, like a couple seconds after, mm-hmm. they just stopped. Well, was that me? And then immediately I started thinking, like, I think that was me. Yeah, I think that was me. And then I was wondering, hey, what was that? There was that white light. And like, how did that get to me? And how did that, I know I shot it at them, mm-hmm. with my mind or my eyes, even though they were closed. I said, wow, how did that happen? And then right away, one of my initial thoughts were, am I a superhero? like, oh my God, like, am I a superhero? Like, wow. Like, I started looking at my hands, and I immediately turned around. I started walking home, and I'm looking at myself, like looking at my arms and my legs, like, wow, wait, what's going on? Like, hey, could I be? And then, I started running, like, let me see if I can run faster, and then I started doing all these silly things, like, wait, is this flying thing, is this going to come in next? And am I going to start to be able to fly? Like, okay, no, I can't do that. I started jumping in the air and this and that. So I'm running home, walking home, and immediately I'm starting to think as I'm getting closer to the home, I got to tell. And I said, I'm not telling nobody. No, no. They're gonna make fun of me or this and that, and and that's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna do that. Should I tell one of my friends? Nope. There's no way. And so I held it within me, and I never said nothing. But then I did think, like, well, maybe that wasn't me. Maybe they just stopped and so forth. And then I remember going to the doctor with my mom, and we went to the doctor, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna try this on somebody. Like, oh man, I can't wait till we get there. So we're on our way to the doctor, and I'm looking for somebody, even though there's always patients in the room, but I'm looking for somebody who looks sick, who looks like they were in pain, who was holding something, they were doing something that looked kind of sick. And then I spotted somebody, and then I said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and get them. And I'm looking at my mom. She's next to me, but she's reading something. I said, okay, she's not paying attention. Perfect. And so I just did the same thing, real casually. And, I closed my eyes, and I did the same thing. And I felt that light come around me, and then right towards that person. And then after a while, I opened my eyes back up, and then I looking at them. And it took them a couple of seconds later, and they started, doing these things and start touching their abdominal area, like, like looking for something that they may have had before coming in. And, I'm just looking at him like, oh, what's this guy going to do? What's this guy going to do? And then, he starts standing up, and he's like, doing this and so forth. He's really looking, he's searching, I could tell. And then he sits back down. Hey, he's just, moving around, and he goes up to the desk, and he's like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna have to reschedule. I got something to do, something that came up, and I forgot about it, and I'm gonna go ahead and head out. And so he left, and I was like, I think this works. I think this really works. Like, he did the same thing that lady did, and they didn't know, and wow, I'm going to keep on doing this. And, so I certainly did do that. Every time there was a medical appointment and so forth, I've always wanted to go with my mom to the doctor. Can I go with you? Can I go go see a family member who's sick? Can I go? Can I go? What is this with you? I thought, oh, you guys hated the doctor and this and that. Oh, no, I like going there. I like going there. And so, I just continued to do it, and it just continued to work on and on and on and on, and so forth.
Well, you could have given the excuse of back then they might have given you a lollipop or something,
Yeah. And that was if I went to the doctor. If I went myself. But I was going just to go ahead and be with my mom, so then I could look for somebody who was like, didn't look good.
Yeah. All right. So you got this talent, and you started to feel like you were a superhero, and you didn't realize that it stopped. It actually saved. It actually solved the problem for one person, and then you went to the doctors with your mom, and then another gentleman leaves because something came up, but what they didn't realize is you actually healed them. You actually, made them feel better. So in reference to it, so you were 5 years old when this all started.
Yeah.
And of course you kept it to yourself, and which nowadays is really a better thing to do, because of course how bullying bullying is like these days, and
Yeah.
of me um the way suicide is coming up through the younger ages in reference to it, and you know of course and you so when you hone these skills, and you start to realize, hey, I can do something with it. Explain to me what you did next after you realized, hey, I can heal these people. What led you to taking those next steps in saying, you know what, I'm going to go out there and save the world, quote unquote, heal the world.
My next steps were just pretty much the same. I would, look around and about and see if anybody, like they look sick or they look like something was bothering them.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just go ahead and try to, if time allotted, I would go ahead and try to just stay still and try to do the same thing over and over and over again
Mm-hmm.
with people in public. Um, a lot of times when I would do that, I could remember me pretending like I was falling asleep. So
Mm-hmm.
people, if like let's say if I was on a bus or something like
Yeah,
that,
right.
so
Mm-hmm.
people wouldn't think, they're like, hey, what's this kid doing? Why is he, just
Yeah.
sitting straight and bowing his head and this and that. So sometimes I would go ahead and pretend like I was falling asleep or so
Mm-hmm.
forth. Just so there wouldn't be any judgment,
Right.
towards me or people thinking I'm crazy or something like that as a crazy
Right.
little kid or
Right.
anything like that. So I just kept on like that, as a child, doing stuff like that without saying anything to anybody.
Okay. So so you're as you're growing up, you're honing on the skills. What so let's go past the childhood. Let's go into the adult years, and within the talent. And so what got you what actually, we're going to do it this way. Like I said, questions were sent to him in advance. And so now I'm going to introduce our number one fan, number one supporter. And like Xavier said in the beginning, is a real life superheroine. And her name is American Fox. Okay. And so we have some questions for Xavier that was presented by Miss American Fox. And so the first question that she has for you is, how do you heal from a distance?
What I do is I just do like how I would if I was in front of somebody. But actually, if I was in front of somebody, um, I wouldn't only do that. I would actually touch them in the area just with my fingertips, not a grab or anything like that. But like, let's say we're online, how we are. I would listen to hear like what's bothering you, what's ailing you, whether it be mental or physical.
Mm-hmm.
And I go ahead and write it down, just so I can make sure that I got everything correctly. If it's something more in depth, and then I would close my eyes and do the same thing over, and I would feel the light around my body, and then I would aim it towards the intention would be towards that person and where they're speaking of that they're having trouble at, and I would stay in there for a while. And then once I come out, then I go ahead and usually ask, how does the person feel? They could talk to me while we're in session. I always tell them, I could hear you. You could say something. I could speak back to you, even though my eyes are closed and so forth. And again, once I open my eyes, I usually say, "Hey, okay, I'm done. How do you feel?" and so forth. And then they'll let me know how they feel.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
All right. So, next question from American Fox is this: what brought you into this field?
Um, like, I like to say what people call, I would think that, God, the universe,
Mhm.
source, you name it, whatever you wish to call it. I think that's what did that. Because, like I said, when the first time that happened, I've never thought about anything like that.
Mhm.
I mean, but every time, I'm asked that question, I take myself right back to that
Mhm.
same age, that same moment, how it looked, the surroundings when I did that the first time. I never tried to look at into that, how this works, or how
Mhm.
you could become like this, how you could attract this power, how you could learn how to do
Mhm.
this or anything. I've never done any of those things, especially at 5. So that's what I would say. Maybe I would say that it's like a gift that has been given to me, and if I'm able to help somebody, I use it for that.
Okay. All right. So the third question by American Fox that she has for you is this: are mental challenges harder to heal than physical ones? And this really sounds like a good question.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think they're both the same
Mm-hmm.
because it's something that a person's going through in their minds. So I don't think that they're one's harder than the other. Yeah, I really don't think so. One's harder than the other. After doing this, especially doing it publicly and online over the last, I started this about 4 years ago around.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it doesn't seem to, be a different or harder challenge.
Okay. All right. So you said you started this practice about 4 years ago. You
Openly, yeah, to the
oh
public.
yeah yeah, openly. Um, and so clients come in and they're like, Xavier, I have this problem, and you know I need help. I need closure, per se, in reference to this. Um, so um, and you said you just touch them with your fingertips and you let them explain more of their situation as you're really focusing on their aura, their inner self, and getting into the inner self. Um, and I know American Fox just asked you a question about um, are mental challenges harder than physical ones. But my question in reference to it is this: has there been a challenge for you where you've had a client where literally you know you they come to you, they explain their situation, and as you're doing this, you're hitting like little roadblocks, quote unquote. Have you had those type of struggles where
Yes, yeah,
where
yeah.
where
I definitely have. I have had those times when that does come up, and I'm unable to go ahead and help them out. And yeah, when I get those are real bothersome
Mhm.
because those stay in my mind probably for like maybe a week or two and so forth.
Mhm.
And I'm like, wow, I really want to help this person. Like, what's going on? Like,
Mhm.
is it? I can't pinpoint what it is.
Mhm.
But then again, I do think that like, hey, maybe this person, maybe they want to be held. I don't. Obviously, they do because they're here, or
Mhm.
obviously they do because they're online.
Mhm.
But it just doesn't help them. It just doesn't help them.
Right.
Um, and it consumes me a little bit because I want to help them so bad that there's I gave it my best, and at
Mhm.
times I'll be like, hey, look, and I know I did this for someone last week, Since you bring this up,
Yeah.
they felt better, but they still felt something. And so then I said, hey, well, I'll tell you what, why don't you come on later tonight? Do you have time? Yes. Okay. Why don't we come on later tonight? Let's pick a time right now. And then we'll go ahead and address this again. We'll meet back. And, I was able to meet with them again. And the second time, they felt a whole lot better. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, you've had your struggles, of course, and you just explained how you could rectify it in reference to it, to where, you're able to do it. Let's look at through all the clients that you've had up to this point. We already brought out kind of the worst part of it. What was the best? How could I ask this question?
I think I know where you're going. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Of all the clients you've had, and in reference to it, kind of give our audience like the best feeling you had when you had a client come to you and they explain their problems, and and you're healing them, and all of a sudden as you're doing it, not only is it beneficial for you because you're able to heal them, but something really changed in them right away, like what the heck, what's going on, like they start to feel totally like have they really felt different in front of you after you performed it?
I'll give you my best and my greatest that I think.
Yeah.
What makes it so good is that this wasn't a client. So a few years back, me, my mom, and my son, we were going to head out somewhere, and someone was parked in front of me, someone I know, and then they came out the car to go ahead and have a word with me, blah, blah, blah. And luckily, that little interference, it stopped me from leaving right away, because I didn't notice what was going on across the street. There's a grocery store across the street at the entrance, and they had left. And then my mom said, hey, look, they're right there by there's some guy right there. They seem to be they look a little hysterical and so forth. And I look and I'm like, hey, what's going on? And, people are, trying to move this guy and trying to, like as if he was sleeping. He was in a wheelchair, and he was right at the entrance, and I could see him right across the street. And then I lowered down the windows, and then you could hear, a little bit of commotion, and ambulance is coming, and then, I hear voices. He's not breathing.
Okay.
And then my mom's like, hey, can't you go help him? I'm like, oh my God. I said, I looked at my mom without saying it, but I'm looking at her like, oh my God, a part of me didn't want to, and a part of me wanted to, but I was like, oh my God, these people are gonna, think this is crazy, but like, does this really matter? We're gonna try to help this guy. Yeah. But again, a part of me was like, man, I don't want to do this, out here in the streets, that was just part of me. And then my son, he took off a seatbelt and got up because we haven't moved yet. He's like, hey, Dada, use your superpower. Can't you use your superpowers? I was like, oh, damn, I was like, no,
the kid put you on the spot.
He sure did. And then my mom looked at me, and her eyes are watery and this and that. I'm like, I got to go. I said, okay, I'm going to go. And I walked across the street, and, people are still saying the same thing. They're like, hey, this and that, with the guy that's trying to shake him, this and that. And then so they moved back a little bit, and I'm like, hey, are you okay, sir? Are you okay? They're like, he's not breathing. He has no pulse. He has no pulse, and this and that, and so
Wow.
forth. And I'm like, and so then I go around by him, and I'm like putting my hand to see if he's breathing, and then I'm checking his pulse, and he didn't have none. He was totally slumped over, like
Wow.
lifeless.
Right.
And they're like, an ambulance is coming. An ambulance is coming. And then I was like, okay. And so I went ahead and I did the same thing. This time I put my head up for some reason. I didn't plan it. I just
Right.
did it. I put my head up, and I felt that white light, and it always feels strong, but this one felt brighter.
Right.
And then I felt that light go right towards him, and it felt real strong.
Mm-hmm.
And then I opened my eyes, and then I was like, and then I went over there by him, and I'm like, sir. I was like, sir, and then I had I just put my fingertips on his shoulder. And I was like, sir, I says, hey, you can wake up. And then I just gave it a couple more seconds, and he did one of these things. He did one of those.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, like what just happened,
But his eyes were still closed, and then he was breathing. Yeah, he was breathing like it was a real struggle breath. Like he was really struggling to breathe.
But he was hyperventilating.
Yeah, something like that. And his head was still down, but you could see his breathing because he was breathing like that, one of those things. While his head was down. And then I'm like, I put my hand by his thing, and I could feel him breathing. I said, hold on. I said, hey, hold on. The ambulance is coming. And then I just took a couple steps, and boom, here comes the fire truck. And I'm like, hey, it's right here. It's right here.
Yep.
And then I just let him be, and I walked back across the street, and my son said, hey, did you help him? Did you help him? I says, hold on. I says, just watch. And so they pull out the stretcher. They're moving real fast, and they're doing this and that, checking him, this and that. And they put him on the stretcher, and they're wheeling him towards the street, and we're right across the street directly. Right. And then they seen his arm move. I said, there it goes, right there. Says he's back, he's good. And they're like, wow, like what happened? I said, yeah, no, those people were saying that he couldn't breathe because he wasn't breathing. He had no pulse. He wasn't breathing. He had nothing. I says he had nothing.
Right.
And then my mom's like, oh, she started tearing up more, and my son was like, wow, Daddy, you did it. And I was like, no, it's not me. I'm not the one who does it. It's whatever. It's that it's what comes through me. It does it. I'm never the one. I'm just,
You're just like the mediator.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Like I'm saying about when in reference to when this podcast, really I'm not the host. I'm just a moderator. The audience is really the host of the podcast in reference to the questions, like American Fox giving you the questions.
Yeah.
So you got that feeling, and your son's super proud, and your mom's super proud of you as well. So before we go on, and before first, I'm going to have you describe your website, XavierRoman.com first. And then we're going to do something very, very interesting because I feel like I now need it in reference to it. And it was explained pre-show very quickly to Xavier. So Xavier, let's talk about your website, XavierRoman.com. What, when people go to the website, what do they expect? What do you expect them to see?
Yeah, you can just see the bio, my story, and so forth from childhood, and then how I helped my mom when she was in a hospital and she had suffered a severe accident with some brain injury and so forth. And then you'll see videos. You'll see videos of just me doing sessions with people online, just like as if we're doing right now, and watching changes and so forth. Yeah,
Okay.
you can see changes, and then at the bottom you can see all the social media contacts. Just click on those. So go ahead and go check it out on there.
All right. So now that we know a bit about Xavier, we're gonna put him to the test. And this was last second, folks, just to let you know, especially the way everything is going right now in reference to my life. So I'm going to give him some background of who I am very quickly. And now I don't know what I need to do in reference to before this takes place in reference to it. So Xavier, just to give you an idea, in school, I was picked on, put down. Growing up in the late 70s and 80s, and so I didn't have many friends. Matter of fact, I think I had one or two back then, but as the years got on, it did get to be a little more. And so I really didn't have much of a life. My parents were always busy. They were working 2-3 jobs to keep 7 of us, well, actually 5 of us at the time, in line. And usually when my parents were out, if they weren't working, they were at meetings for different organizations. So my brothers and sisters practically, in a way, raised me. But it got to the point where, once they moved out, I was by myself, and I was starting to raise myself a little bit. And so I had gone through times where, like no one was really interested in me, or if I went to a dance, like a dance of any kind, with the exception of like the prom, of course, no one was interested in dancing with me. No one was interested in really conversing. And I would go to parties. Yes, I did party, quote unquote, when I was young. And so, but even when I was at these parties, I was kind of to myself. People would come up and chat with me, but, I really didn't have people to hang out with. So I felt like a loner. And then during all that time, I had some relationships that somehow didn't pan out. They wind up cheating on me and, really hurting me. And then my last relationship before I got married, and I'm dating this back to 1999, 2000. I thought I had this great relationship, and I thought things were actually going to be good. and this was kind of leading towards almost one of the lengthiest relationships I had. And so what happened was I wind up being let go from a job. And then, this person I was with at that time was like, okay, you're going to do this. And I'm like, okay. But at the same time, this person got me interested in something that she liked. So I did it, because, of course I wanted to be there and, do what I can for the relationship. And so I wind up going on this convention out in Vegas for this, we'll say, hobby for her. Interesting little tidbit for me. And so during the time, my niece was staying with us. And so she turned around to me, got a hold of me while I was out in Vegas and said, so-and-so is cheating on you. I was like, wow. I just couldn't believe this. And so I came back. Things fell apart. We broke up. And I mean, like I said, it was a really hard struggle. And then I met my now ex-wife. And at that time, she was cheating on the guy that she was with me. And so we lasted 7 years. And I was thinking, hey, this is actually, I'm actually going to be happy for once.
Yeah.
Things were going to be, things were going to end with this. I would have still be married at this time if this was going on. And it was like the bottom fell out on me in reference to it. And I wind up making a mistake. And that mistake took some time away from me. And in 2009, I was officially diagnosed with anxiety depression. So I've been attempting to rebuild my life all these years. And I've come across, I had another relationship that was complicated during that time. And it was okay. But it wasn't, the greatest thing. So now I've come to a point where I'm 55 years old now. I'm starting to realize that everything that was coming on in the past, I was feeling, or was actually happening. Okay. Where I wind up being controlling, or where I'm pushing, or where I'm rushing things more now. Like I'm just like really being impatient in reference to, what I'm looking forward to. And I met someone who brought that out. And I now got to a point where I'm like, I don't believe in friends anymore. I really, and like you were saying, God's calling to you was your, this healing. God had me start to realize that this podcast was my calling.
Yeah.
So, make a long story short, the loneliness the hurt from everything in the past, my personal feelings, thinking that I'm really looking forward to something is just gone. So I don't know what you could do to assist or to at least give me an idea of the direction of what to look forward to. So I'm going to leave this in your hands.
Okay. Yeah, sounds fair. Okay. So I'm going to do it just like I would with anybody else, as far as with the session.
Mm-hmm.
And I pretty much got everything that you told me.
Yeah.
So how we do the session. So you could close your eyes, or you can leave them open. It's totally up to you.
Okay. I'm going to close my eyes.
Yeah. So I'll explain to you the directions before you close your eyes. I'll explain to you the directions first. Okay. So I'll say I'm going to begin, and when that time comes, I'm going to close my eyes, and you can do as you choose. There's a little thing or technique that I ask a person if they want to do it. They don't have to. They actually don't have to be aware at all, but like it's just to relax your mind. You could take breaths while your eyes are closed. Inhale 4 seconds, exhale 4 seconds. Okay, you can do that.
Okay.
And if your thoughts should go somewhere else, just concentrate on the breaths going in and out. Just concentrate on that. And then that'll clear everything else out. If you'd like to.
Okay.
I found that that does help people when they want to. And so when I'm done, I'll say I'm done. You can open your eyes. Sometimes some people, they take a little bit longer to open their eyes because where they're at, they like it, so they stay in there. So I wait until they're ready. Now you could talk to me while my eyes are closed and while I'm going through the process. You could talk to me, and I could talk to you as well. I just not going to open my eyes until I say I'm done. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So let's get ready.
Yep.
All right. Here we go. Okay.
Just to let you know, if I wind up opening my eyes, I'm checking the time because
that's fine. No.
Because we have as we start this, about 15, 16 minutes.
No problem.
One thing I can say that I learned in my life is that I've picked up a habit from my late father. And my mother, now at 94, still reminds me once in a blue moon that I'm stubborn like he was. So I don't know if that's going to be a challenge as we're going through this.
Okay.
I feel my chest a little bit tightening.
Okay.
Now, I was diagnosed with a nerve disorder type. So, I
Okay.
mean, I can feel my left arm, of course, shaking.
Okay.
So, I don't know if that's part of what's going on right now in reference to it.
Yes, it's good.
And I mean, I can feel, like I said, I can feel I can feel within the chest cavity, just all the tenseness, like I said, everything I mentioned a few minutes ago, and you know, just wishing it was like calmer terms,
Okay.
like it wants to fight.
Yeah, it's the old habits.
Yeah.
Feel any better?
I can still actually now, like, both hands are, I can feel both hands starting to shake a little bit. I mean, I can still feel that those old habits don't want to let go. They
Yeah.
really, they're really,
Fighting.
they're really fighting. They're like, like, Joey, you can't be happy anymore. You destroyed yourself a long time ago. God has forgiven you for it, but I'm not letting you forgive. I'm not letting this out. And it's deep down really hurting my heart because the people that, are supposed to be in my life right now, I'm hurting them more because of this. And I don't want it to happen anymore.
Yeah.
I really I really want to loosen up the patience. I really want to loosen up, I want to get rid of rushing things. I want to get rid of pushing things. I want to get rid of being controlling. I guess because my ex-wife was controlling and holding me back on things, and I guess that's what's building these old habits to really be stronger.
Okay, I'm done.
Okay. All right. I gave a lot in reference to it.
Yep. How do you feel?
I still feel the old habits really there.
Yeah, but the good thing is that you can acknowledge them now. That's like if I have a piece of pizza and my doctor says that, hey, listen, you have your arteries are this much percent clogged, 75% clogged. You're going to take the pizza or this. So now I know why I can't have that pizza. So I'm going to say, you know what? No, I got things to do. I'm going to choose this or the pizza because, now I see my pattern. Now I see my, how I got myself to this situation, this environment. Now I absolutely know. Sometimes that's half the battle. Sometimes that's half the battle of those things coming right to you, right in front of you, so that I don't want that. I don't want that. And sometimes when you get it in 3D, it makes a big difference because you absolutely know, without a doubt, what is what and what causes you, or what has you where you are at right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So let me know tomorrow how you feel. Just let it go. Just let it keep on going, and send me an email tomorrow and so forth. Let me know how you feel tomorrow. Hello? Still there? You look. I think you may have froze.
Okay. Xavier, before you continue, I just want you to know the internet cut us out a little bit.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, it's pretty strong.
So you may have to track back a little bit to what you were saying up to this point.
Okay, no, I was just saying. Now that you absolutely, once you get those things in 3D, in your mind, what's going on that's holding you back, or that puts you in the position that you're in now that you may not want to be.
Yeah.
Those things, they could actually help you. Now absolutely without a doubt what it is, what pattern it is, and what takes you down the road that you don't want to go to. So to see that and to feel it, through your body and your nerves and so forth, it will help. I think it will help. And then I was also saying that let me know how you feel tomorrow. If you could send me an email to let me know how you feel.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
yeah. That would help out too. It'll help me out too.
Yeah. I mean that's not a problem. And I really thank you so much, Xavier, for doing this, because right now I'm at the point right now where I'm literally just giving up, just left and right, just give it up, because I want to stop expecting things. I want to just dissolve friendships and stop believing in friendships, because I felt like that was part of the pain.
Yeah.
To realize it was more than just the friendships and what happened when I was little, and all the teasing and the put down. And it wasn't really what I did mention. It wasn't just like my classmates when I was younger. There were times my family was like even putting me down, and really just just, I can't say embarrass me, but, just literally just wanted to say you're really nothing. And I think that's what I took in all these years that led to where I'm at now. And, as time is starting to run out, folks, definitely go to XavierRoman.com and check him out. And if you feel that you need help like I do, like I really, really do, reach out to him. Let him know you heard it through the Life with Joey Calvo podcast, and let him help you. I'm going to definitely reach out to him tomorrow and give him an idea of what's going to happen. Like right now, as we're talking, as we're closing out this podcast, my heart's getting heavier because everything is really coming out now, because I'm feeling like, that's it. I really don't, outside of, God's calling me to do this podcast, I really don't feel like I matter to myself. Or, people saying I do matter to them, but I don't feel like I do. I feel like, I say to people too, who I am, the ugly, creepy, loser, every name that was thrown at me when I was little, tightening up, in that tightening up time as we were doing it. And then, those times where I was stood up and where I felt like I was a joke, that's starting to come through again, and stronger. And I'm at the point where I'm just literally want to be outside looking in, because I don't see my inside wanting to come out. But like I'm saying to you, the audience, go to XavierRoman.com, check him out. Xavier, I thank you so much for being a guest on the podcast. Thank you very much for doing this with me. And you're welcome to come back on the podcast at any time.
Yeah, definitely. It's up to you. If you'd like to have me again, I have so many more stories. I don't think I've ever been on a podcast where we didn't have to do a part 2 and 3 or so forth, because there just wasn't enough time and the hour doesn't cover it. So that's totally up to you. And one thing that I did learn just from hearing everything you were saying, is that, I had a near-death experience, as you'll see too on the site in the bio, when I think I was 30, around there. But I know it was in 2010. I had the near-death experience where they had to operate on me, and during the operation, boom, I went out and seen everything and listened to all the surgeons and, all the chaos that went on. But one thing from being on that other side is that a lot of the stuff that we learn here, which are all the tough things that we go through, that's what makes us. And once we are able to connect all the stuff that we don't like, it teaches us what to not to be towards other people, because we actually get to feel it all these times and years that we didn't like this, happening to us, we didn't like that happening to us, and so forth.
Just to let you know, we have about 15 seconds.
Okay, yeah. So the bottom line is that, I just learned that, our tough experiences teach us what not to be towards, other people, All
right. All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching the Life with Joey Calvo podcast. God bless you all.
Thank you.